Right, we all ready?
I'm going to sneeze. I'm not going to sneeze.
And there's our intro.
Right. Hello, and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
I'm Helena.
And I'm Jamie.
And for this episode, we watched Megamind. I think I'd seen Megamind like once, like a while ago. I didn't remember too much of it. Like I remembered some vague plot points, but that was about it.
I remember wanting to see this film, and it was one of those ones where we were in that sweet spot before like Blockbuster had properly shut, but not everyone had Netflix. Or did we have Netflix properly in 2010?
No, that was like the sweet spot when not everyone...
It was like you had Netflix, but Netflix sent you the DVDs.
And I think there was streaming, but it wasn't as common.
Yeah. We certainly didn't have any streaming. I think maybe my Wii could do YouTube.
Yeah, that was like the era.
Cutting edge technology.
Yeah.
My parents were using, bearing in my mind, my parents have a laptop and like HDMI cables, etc. They were using my Wii to watch Netflix up until the Wii, like the Nintendo discontinued supporting the like Netflix app.
So just bad quality Netflix.
Really bad, because like it wasn't HDMI enabled.
No.
Like they have an HD ready TV, but they would like, well, that's how we did it. And it was like, you have a laptop.
No, I'm just
How
trying to
is
think
that more
when
complicated.
my parents' house stopped using dial-up because they had a really slow internet connection even when dial-up stopped. So I wouldn't have been able to stream anything, even if we did have Netflix at the time.
Yeah,
and
to
it
be
was
fair,
streaming.
that might have been pretty. I had to go at not go at my parents, but I gave my parents a little nudge to say your internet is shocking, and I found out they were paying between £30 and £40 a month for 2 megabytes per second.
Jesus.
Because they just never upgraded, and they'd never let TalkTalk send them a new box or anything.
Oof. Yeah, the problem with my place is it was like semi-rural, so we're talking like
Oh yeah, my parents
really like Moffat, like horrible copper wires, and I think it was like 54 kV connection for years.
Ooh.
Yeah.
that makes my head hurt. That's like me and my ex used. There was no point trying to stream anything. We just bought DVDs from CEX. By the time you'd like torrented something, it was quicker to have gone to the nearest CEX, like in Canterbury, bought a DVD and come back, and you still have 2 days left on the torrent.
Mm-hmm.
So
not that we torrent anything.
Oh no,
absolutely not. We wouldn't do a thing like that. But just
Megamind was on Netflix.
A example of the grim situation of living in the early 2010s. Terrible internet.
Yeah.
So never got around to watching Megamind, but I always like, oh, that sounds fun. I didn't realise it was Will Ferrell.
Yeah, neither did I.
And I hate him.
Yeah.
So I was immediately like, when that came up and it said Will Ferrell, I was like, oh fuck. And then I was pleasantly surprised. I'm just gonna let you guys know. I quite enjoyed it. Wouldn't say it's not the best film I've seen, but I was.
It's not robots.
It's no robots.
Robot.
It's.
I do think the voice acting was
It's
pretty
not
generally
as
good.
grating. I didn't think that Megamind. I thought it was going to be really grating when it was Will Ferrell, and I thought I was going to want to throw my laptop across the room, but that didn't happen. He was fine.
Yeah, this wasn't Sherlock Holmes and Watson. This isn't Holmes and Watson level. Has anyone seen that film, the Will Ferrell?
No.
Nobody has.
Other Will Ferrell.
I don't think anyone saw it.
Sherlock. Who's that other guy? It's Will Ferrell and not Will Ferrell.
No, the other guys is
Brothers
a
as
different
well.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's John C. Reilly.
Yeah, one of the worst films ever made, I think. I've never seen it. I want to, as like a punishment, kind of pain kind of thing.
It's got 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, we should watch it.
That's a Patreon bonus episode coming soon.
We should watch it. Holmes and Watson.
25% audience score.
That's
anyway,
high.
Mikey and Jamie, what was your memories of Megamind?
I can't remember exactly when I saw this. I think it must have been a little bit later when it came on TV, because I definitely didn't see it at the cinema. And as we covered, I couldn't have watched it online. So, I had relatively fond memories of this. I mean, like, I vaguely
pretty old
recall.
for a kids' film in 2010.
Yeah.
We're pretty grown up. We're pretty big boys.
Yeah, like I vaguely remember comparing this to Despicable Me and liking it a lot more than that. So, like that was my main
That was
memory
the
going
other
into it.
film. That was the other film. I was like, I
Yeah.
know this film in my head is like connected to another film, and it's not The Incredibles.
Yeah. To use
Yeah,
a
it
really
did throw me that they have a character in this one called Minion.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
the same year as well. So,
Yeah.
but to
Except this time it's a
use
fish voiced by David Cross.
like a really inappropriate comparison, like Despicable Me and Megamind is a bit like The Raid and Dread, where they both like cover the same kind of stuff and came out around the same kind of time.
Oh, I like Volcano and Dante's Peak.
Yeah.
Ants and Bug Life.
Yeah.
Finding
Yeah, this
Nemo
kind of thing
Shark
happens
Tale.
a lot, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It really does, yeah.
I could get into it, but there
Ice
is
Age and Cold Time.
Yeah.
Timey animal film.
there is a thing in like film in like Hollywood where this happens a lot. It has a
Yeah.
name. Can't remember what it's called, but it's essentially because bits of scripts get leaked to other writers and other production
Oh, I
companies.
think isn't this foreshadowing?
Yeah, it's good foreshadowing. Bits of like concepts and scripts get leaked, and other production companies pick it up to be like, we should beat them to it. And sometimes they're both up for Oscars at the same time, and it's very funny. Like the Prestige and the other Magic one.
Megamind is not Star Wars. It's a Superman parody
Yes.
at its core.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, yeah, because it's Metropolis.
Yeah, Metro.
Yeah.
It's really.
Metrocity.
Yeah, he's an alien kid from a different planet that gets sent here when his planet's being destroyed. Except at the same time, so does Brad Pitt. So
Yeah, a super baby. He's a
Yeah.
super villain baby. And
Well,
then
he
there's
wasn't.
also a
He
super baby.
wasn't necessarily like. Was his family villainous, or were they just different?
I think
no, I think
it was just
that
I mean, that's
he
the-
was
the-
so
just-
like arrogant and the best and everything, but like even as a baby, that kind of like the way he taunts Megamind and then bops him out the way in his
Oh.
escape pod.
That is
Yeah.
literally the
Yeah.
story of the film, though. That's the theme of the
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
is-
yeah.
Yeah, no, I was
is-
saying that it doesn't. It's not like his parents are like,
No, he
"Ha ha
wasn't
ha,
born
go forth and
villainous.
be evil." It's like, here, you've got to leave. We love you. Bye bye. Oh, here's your minion.
Yeah.
Good luck, baby. And
He just landed in a prison.
yeah,
And got
I
brought up
thought
by
that was
prisoners.
hilarious though. It's like a baby
Yeah.
crash lands in
Yeah.
a prison and they're like, well, I guess you're a prison baby now. This is your home.
Oh,
and it's like, can we
yeah.
keep him? And they're like, "Eh."
Whilst the super kid got brought up in like a rich family.
Mm.
Yeah, well, yeah, with I mean, he should have had more problems than he does because like he has a very disinterested father. Because like, oh, darling, a baby, wonderful, darling. Yes, I know that's what you wanted, and he's like not looked up from his newspaper.
Yeah,
I think that
to be
is
fair, it's
kind
not
of
his fault.
reflected in the way that the characters turn out, and like the character study,
Yeah.
like the differences between Megamind and Metro Man is kind of like the core of the end of the film as well.
I
Yeah.
don't remember what happens though. Well, sort of.
Oh,
so
that doesn't bode well.
Megamind
So-
and the bad guy. No, not the bad guy. The good guy. The Superman. What's he called? Metro Man.
Metro Man, yeah.
Grow up to be bitter rivals. He's low key, but well, high key bullied by Metro
Yeah.
Man.
Everything he does, like Mega Man tries to make friends, and it doesn't work. And Metro Man has everyone is his friend.
Yeah.
And Mega Man becomes a bit bitter.
Yeah,
Just a
I think
touch.
one of the whole things like that runs through the entire film is just all of Megamind's like evil actions are just desperately looking for validation. He just wants other
Yeah,
people
we just needs a
to,
hug.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah, he really does.
you know when he's shapeshifted, disguised as a librarian, like in the middle of the film,
Mm.
and the reporter lady's like Roxanne,
Yeah.
yeah, like hugs him to say goodbye. I think that's probably the first time he's ever had like a genuine emotional contact in his entire life, and that's why he
Yeah.
looks so
First bit.
surprised.
And that's when he
Human
starts to
emotion.
change as well. That is a really
Hmm.
pivotal moment in his career, character development,
Criminal career.
criminal career.
Yeah, but before that, so Mega Man, like they're constantly in a fight with each other, constantly in battle. Mega Man quite enjoys it, the whole villainous back and forth.
Well,
with the hero.
he's never really succeeded. He's never managed to get Metro Man. His plans are always foiled.
Yeah, he also
Um,
kind of just doesn't want to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No,
Because
because it's just fun to him.
Yeah, because he does. He finally catches him, and then he's like, because he captures the journalist woman,
Yeah.
Yeah, Tina Fey.
Roxanne, Tina Fey.
With her
Yeah,
cameraman,
wild
Jonah Hill.
cast. Wild
Yeah.
cast again.
What another one?
I knew that. Yeah, I knew. I didn't know any of the cast. So when it was like, oh yeah, it's Brad Pitt and Will Ferrell, I was like, say what? What?
Is it?
It is.
And then Jonah Hill and Tina Fey.
And I was like, oh, is this gonna be good?
Maybe.
Maybe. It's still DreamWorks,
Yeah.
so you know.
Yeah. But yeah, no. It turns out his weakness, Metro Man's weakness, is copper.
Yeah, and he's trapped in an observatory which is covered in copper, and
And
Metro Man dies. Oh no,
Yeah,
very
they're gonna
sad.
explode it. Metro Man dies. Mega Man's like, this is like the first 20 minutes of the film. Mega Man's like, oh shit, what now?
Yeah,
And
he's like
"Right, I'm
the
gonna
dog
take
that
over
caught the car.
city." And he's like,
Shit,
this
it
is mine,
actually
this is
works.
mine. He literally spray paints like the whole city like Megamind shop. Megamind.
Yeah.
Owned by Megamind.
And after a while, he just gets bored.
Yeah, because there's no chase. It was the thrill of the chase that he liked so much.
Yeah.
And
So he finds.
and he's lonely and he has no purpose.
Yeah. All this time, Roxanne, the journalist, has a cameraman who is awful.
Yeah, Jonah Hill. He's such a nice guy, but in the worst way.
Yeah, like Jonah Hill in this, he plays, I would say, the perfect incel. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
2010, what
One who
incel's a
can't
thing
take
in
a fucking hit.
2010?
Before incels were really like.
Well known, I would say.
Oh,
But I'm
no,
sure
that
they
was
existed.
peak incel. 2010 was like kind of the start.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
start definitely of the nice
Of-
guy
of
phenomenon
kind
of
of-
like, and like Hollywood also calling it out, where
Yeah.
like Hollywood had perpetuated that for quite a long time. I was like, well, if you really just keep trying, you'll wear her down. You'll get her in the
eventually.
end. She'll realize you're
The-
really a nice guy.
The nerd always gets the girl.
But yeah, thankfully
yeah.
they don't. They are spoof. It is a spoof, and
We-
that doesn't happen.
Which, like, initially he's just kind of awkward and in love. Like,
Yeah.
that's. He's like, he likes her and he's kind of awkward about it. Invites her around to a party and then goes, oh, no, it's just me and you. And I hired a wedding photographer in case something
yeah, no, he's
happens.
he's not. He's a little bit more than just a bit. He's not
He's
full on,
manipulative.
like he's manipulative
Yeah.
and
Entitled.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he
I
can't
think he
take no
gets-
for an answer.
Yeah, it doesn't start that way, but it definitely devolves into him
Yeah.
not quite understanding.
Because essentially, to like whiz through a little bit of the plot, Megamind's like getting bored,
Yeah.
and so he's like, "Oh, if I get some of Metro Man's DNA, make another hero, I'll have someone else to be battling against."
Yeah.
And he's gonna kind of save it, but it ends up shooting Jonah Hill.
Yeah, he's
Gun
going to track
Jonah.
down someone sort of like a worthy opponent, but accidentally fires
a
the gun
good
in
guy.
because Roxanne's finally found his hideout and is like going in there, and he has to like hide because at that time he's still seeing her as
As a
what's the name?
assist-
Richard,
as a-
is it?
Bernard. Oh yeah, because he's
Bernard,
shapeshifting
Bernard.
into Bernard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bernard.
Bernard, voiced by Ben Stiller for the 2 lines he has.
Yeah, so he turns Jonah Hill into Metro Man 2.0, also known as Titan.
Yeah, and that's with the GHT.
But not spelled.
Yeah, that I
not
think that
TITA.
is definitely one of the like the funnier tiny detail gags in the film. Is they go through this whole training montage where Megamind is pretending to be Titan's space dad as like a
because he has
parody
that
of the
watch
old
that makes him
Superman
like he
films.
can transform into whoever he
y-
wants.
yeah, and he tells Hal that his superhero name is going to be Titan, as in like one of the mythical giant monsters. But he never actually like spells it out or gives it to him on a piece of paper or anything. He just says you're called Titan. And later on, Hal is using his newly gained laser eyes after he turns evil to vandalize the city and is writing Titansville. But he spells it Titan as in tighten your belt.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
more
'cause
accurately,
he's-
tights as in wearing tights.
Yeah. Because Megamind's also always saying things wrong, like metrocity and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
I actually
I
thought
like 'cause
that
it's like
was-
a pun on atrocity.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also thought that was quite clever as well, because it kind of calls back to the fact that he's probably done a lot of reading and has taught himself a lot of stuff, but doesn't actually
Yes, and he's
speak
not really
to
had
people.
any friends. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's probably like picked up like vocab from books, but doesn't know how to pronounce it properly.
Or maybe
Yeah.
just the people he was brought up with in jail said things wrong.
Yeah, probably that.
But yeah, there are some great like lines and little side gags in this film that really caught me off guard. Like there's a Donkey Kong reference quite early at the start, which was good.
Oh, during
Did you guys
Titan's training montage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in his montage.
Like
yeah.
Minion is throwing barrels at him down a load of ramps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a subtle reference.
No.
No.
And he essentially gets to the point of thinking that I'm a superhero. If I save the girl I love, she'll be mine. And so he starts like flying her around and then dropping her. And he's like, look, I'm saving you. You'll love me now.
Yeah, he
But-
can't understand that it's his personality that she finds abhorrent. Well, not even abhorrent. Like, she likes him. She just doesn't want to be with him.
Yeah. She's yeah.
And
he
he
doesn't quite
goes
understand
into a rage, and then it's like, oh shit, this superhero is not a superhero.
No, he goes full on Homelander
Yep.
and
Mhm.
starts destroying shit.
Well, stealing stuff, and Space Dad is disappointed, which is
Yeah.
very funny when it's Megamind being
Yeah,
like,
Megamind.
don't steal shit after, like, that's all he did.
Yeah.
And then
Mega-
Megamind's like he's still pretending to be Bernard, but so he can go on a date with Tina Fey, Roxanne Ritchie, I think her name is.
Yeah.
And they end up kissing, but while they're kissing, she accidentally touches the watch and he turns back into Megamind.
Yeah, and you learn that. And she's convinced that he did it to manipulate her.
Yeah, because everyone's like, he's a villain, that's what he does. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just another way of being evil and torturing people, is to
And
like
she's
emotionally play with them.
Yeah, she's fully like, why would you do that? That's weird. Which it is fair. It is very fair if that was his plan. It is a very strange one. What is weird about that bit, that whole thing where he's pretending to be his Jonah Hill's alien dad, and the thing, but also like Megamind doesn't want to be the hero. He still wants to be the villain.
Yeah, so he's trying to train up this guy to be his idea of a perfect hero with a space dad. As the space dad is sort of like the explanation as to why he's got his powers, because you've been given your powers by an evil villain to fight him is a great backstory.
But then, like, when he finds out that Jonah Hill's doing evil, like doing bad things, he's like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
I
my
mean,
job.
like when you look at the way that Megamind actually acts, he doesn't appear to actually be concerned with being genuinely evil. He cares
it's a
about
villain for
narrative and
show.
theatre, and
Well,
he's adopted
performance.
a narrative character that he plays, but that's not
well, yeah, it's
necessarily what
what-
he actually genuinely, like deep down, actually feels and believes.
Yeah, which what's the difference between a villain and a supervillain? Style
Yeah.
and performance, like that whole bit. Which they spent a lot of money on the soundtrack for this film.
Yeah.
Because it has some, I assume, diegetic. I assume Mega Man's playing the music whilst he's doing this
Oh,
stuff.
of course.
I mean, like Minions walking around with a boombox for a lot of the scenes, so
It's like AC/DC and stuff.
yeah. I think they spent a lot of money on this film. Like the budget was pretty big, all things considered. Like even the like the rendering and stuff, and just all the moving parts with the like the brain bots and stuff. There was a lot going on there, and I guess that's one of the reasons why I feel like sad about this film compared to something like Despicable Me, where Despicable Me had a budget of something like half what this had, and made I think like $250 million more, and also spawned a massive franchise and spin-off franchises, whereas like Megamind just died after this. So
Well, also, like, where do you go with Megamind? Like, what do you do after? Like, I fully understand why it didn't get like a franchise and it didn't get big, because like
You
what
say
do
that, but when you think
Like,
about
it's-
like what happens for like at the end of Despicable Me, like he's no longer despicable, and it's like, okay,
Oh, no, but there's a lot of like other stories you can explore. Megamind goes through Megamind's story. Like it literally tells you his entire life. You can't go back and tell.
well, I mean, I suppose
other
you could
story.
maybe tell a story about him struggling to be good and not relapse into old habits and stuff, and like how he's good when he comes up against another supervillain or something like that.
But wouldn't that be like actually entertaining to watch?
Yeah, I
Would that be,
don't know.
like,
Some things
worth the
just
risk?
work nicely as a standalone thing, and
Yeah, and
need
I
to have loads of sequels or
'Cause
a spin-off about the Fishman and all the
I
other
just
little fishmen that end up,
don't think you.
know, taking over everything.
This
Yeah.
film, it kind of felt watching it. It felt like it didn't quite understand what its target audience was,
Yeah, it's a little bit too serious.
Yeah.
but also a
Whereas
little
at
bit
least
too
like
silly.
because like Gru and the everything about like that film was really, really childish.
Yeah, like Despicable
think-
Me was a lot more like slapstick, and it had a lot of the visual gags in the same way that Robots did.
Yeah.
Whereas this seems to be like
It's
a lot of the
wittier.
comedy comes from like wits and finer detail stuff that you
And
wouldn't
references
necessarily
to
notice.
that kids might not. Yeah. Kids might
Yeah,
not get.
yeah. So
But
it's
also,
kind of
like-
understandable that kids didn't go for this one as much.
Also, like the heart of Megamind is a lot more complicated.
It's
like
character
the actual,
driven.
story and the
Yeah.
meaning. Yeah, it's a lot more complicated than like Despicable Me. It's a much easier story to tell.
Plus, there's
And also-
kids in Despicable Me.
Yeah, like
So-
I think with Megamind, a lot of the core themes are like overcoming failure and moving through it, and you know, like the exploration of Megamind's character is like a neglected or abusive childhood, and how that's affected him compared to Metro Man into who they are as adults.
a slightly different kind of a neglected child.
Yeah,
But also like it's also too silly to be taken seriously.
Yeah, no, that's where I think it, and that's why I think it's not successful, because if it was a fantastic parody, it might have got other shows, and they might have just parodied other super villains. Like they could have gone down like, oh, we're going to use him as like a James Bond kind of thing, and like he gets recruited by the
He gets
CIA
to,
or
like-
whatever, and
Well, like, yeah, he gets to go up against other villains, but like it's too silly to catch like the teenage audience,
yeah.
but it's too serious to catch the kid audience.
yeah,
It just
yeah.
kind of became a like.
Yeah, I think that's why I
shrug and
never saw
wash.
it, because I was like, well, this is a kids' film, and I'm not really a kid.
Yeah,
Like, there
Yeah,
were
I-
other more grown-up films I wanted to see at that point.
I think it spent a lot of its energy kind of like wobbling along that tightrope and spending so much time trying to find that balance that it didn't really get to where it was trying to go, which was the end of the tightrope.
yeah. It's a good film. It's fun. It's funny. There's a lot of good jokes in it. A lot of good gags. But I don't think there's any way you can go with it after it's finished.
No, for what it was, I really enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah. No, not that I like Despicable Me's sequels. Not that I like that got 1,000 sequels and spin-offs. It's a bad series of franchises.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I would say that Despicable Me suffers from the same problem in that the sequels don't need to exist. And
No.
yeah, like I mean, that's just true. Like they don't need to exist. But
I
they
mean,
do.
bearing in mind, like when we've already talked about how like we had limited access to films, and like going to the cinema. I'm looking at other films that came out that year, and it's like films that I was the target audience for as like a teenager. It's like Kick-Ass came out, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
This film was never going to do well.
Yeah, Iron Man 2, Easy A.
Yeah, this film. This film
thinking
doesn't have an
of Iron Man 2, actually, interesting bit of trivia is the original intended voice actor for Megamind was Robert Downey Jr. And I cannot imagine how that would have worked.
yeah,
It would have been a lot more intellectually driven,
Other
I think.
other big big favorites as well, like How to Train Your Dragon, Red, which is like obviously one of my favorite films. I'm not sure I mentioned that on the pod, but I love that film. Yeah,
this
so
film wasn't gonna do well.
many films came out that year, like that were proper hits. Toy Story 3.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
we were
there's-
obviously like. I remember I saw that in the cinema.
Yeah. That film made me cry for like a solid 30 minutes. And I mean proper crying, sobbing tears. Don't know why, it just really hit me. But this film,
Yeah, we were aged like between 14 and 17.
Yeah. I meant that like when I was like 24, I watched that film for the first time.
Sure.
It got me. It really got me.
I haven't seen it since, to be fair.
Yeah.
I hit
But yeah,
myself
this film doesn't have like, there's no audience there that doesn't have a film to watch that's better. Like,
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Oof.
My mum
Okay,
loves that
maybe-
film.
Oh dear.
I still don't understand that.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I do not get why your mum likes that film. Yeah, no, this film wasn't going to do it. And we were quite happy it didn't have sequels. It doesn't need them.
Shrek Forever After. Speaking of
Okay,
bad
maybe-
sequels.
Shrek fans would have probably gone to see Megamind.
I was
I
going to
don't
say,
know,
Frozen came out, but I was like, that can't be right. But it's 3 skiers stranded in a chairlift, forced to make a life or death choice.
Oh, that's very different. Very different.
I love the song in that.
Yeah, Let It Go.
You
It's
know,
about
Let It Go.
let the person drop and then they'll stop swinging the chair.
Oh man, Night and Day came out in 2010 as well. The Cameron Diaz, Tom Cruise.
No idea. I mean, we make.
Oh, that
we
is like
do-
that is like an ITV2 favorite. That is on all the
Probably.
time. Like to
Anyway,
this day.
Megamind.
You know, I feel that it doesn't speak like well for the ratings at the end of the show if we're like choosing to spend this time going off on tangents about other films that were released in the same year.
Yeah, it's just it was one of those ones where it was like I enjoyed watching it, but I'm never going to
It's
watch it
just
again, and I'm not
Very
like
forgettable.
it didn't leave me wanting more in any respect.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Megamind.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah,
I
I was
really
just-
liked it. Yeah.
Metro Man is still alive.
Oh yeah, we didn't get.
Oh,
that.
yeah, we'll
Metro
get to that
Man's
bit.
still alive. Because they break into his house to like what was the reason to like
They get more DNA.
get more DNA to try and make another. Yeah.
Well,
do it
they
again.
were trying to work out what Metro Man's actual weakness was because they realised that the old copper
Oh,
trick
yeah.
didn't
Oh,
work
yeah.
on Titan. They were like, "Huh, that's weird. I wonder if he had any other weaknesses."
Yeah. And then it turns out that Metro Man was just kind of sick of it all. And in my head, from the one time I'd watched this, I'd forgotten that someone else becomes a superhero. I just thought it turned out that secretly Metro Man was a bad guy.
Hmm.
I
Um,
thought that as well.
yeah.
I thought that. I was like, oh yeah, Metroman's a dick.
Yeah.
Nah,
So
Metroman's actually
No, he's
quite
just
a
burnt
nice
out.
guy.
yeah, I do think that Metro Man is a dick, but not for that reason. And I think when we were talking about how both of them had a slightly neglectful childhood for different reasons, I think this is where it comes out in the film. Because like clearly Metro Man throughout like the beginning up until the point that he supposedly gets obliterated, he's presented as almost like this Jesus-like figure to the point that he even like descends into a crowd and then walks along water to go and say hello to them.
Yeah.
So like he's been living his entire life with just this crushing expectation of perfection on him. And you know, it's kind of like how you can have like these genius children that go through the gifted and like talented programs and stuff at school, and then end up completely burnt out and broken by the time they're adults because of that crushing weight of expectation. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like that for Metro Man as well, where he has been like this pillar of perfection, and he just can't sustain it anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't resent him for wanting to quit, but he is kind of a dick where he lets the world fall apart, or Metro City fall apart so badly. But I guess it's like, yeah, he's just had to accept that that's what's going to happen and that it will work out in the end.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think as well the like Megamind's whole kind of harebrained scheme of you know, create a new hero or like good will rise up to fight evil. It's kind of like all of those characters, they're not dealing with reality, they're dealing with storytelling tropes. And that's kind of meta when you're telling that story inside a story. But
Yeah.
like there's the expectation that when evil kind of like rears its ugly face, a hero will appear to confront it. But in this case, they gave some random schmuck superpowers. And instead of doing the expected narrative trope of rising up and becoming, or like taking on the mantle of the hero and kind of like adopting those morals and that kind of aspiration of perfection, just use it for entirely selfish reasons, because you've effectively elevated a regular person to godhood, or a like more flawed than normal person, really. And what did they expect would happen? You know, like
you've
the fiction
turned
inside
an
the story.
incel
That's a
into
real
Superman.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and turns out Metro Man wants to be a jazz musician.
And not a very
He's not
good
Yeah,
very
thing.
so
good.
he's just
Country
chilling playing his
singer.
guitar.
He wants to be a country singer.
Yeah, I did think it was quite funny that he renamed himself Music Man just so he could keep the logo.
Yeah.
Logos are expensive and difficult. Once you have a good one, you stick with it.
Yeah.
So they end up fighting,
Yeah.
and Titan has the line that really made me laugh because it's definitely true now. Of when they're fighting and he's like, "Oh no, there's no heroes." He's like, "There's no Easter Bunny, there is no Tooth Fairy, and there is no Queen of England." I'm like,
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean,
That
that
line's
joke
aged well.
works on like a couple of levels as well, because like obviously real life events have occurred, but also on a very literal level, there isn't a Queen of England because that title doesn't exist and hasn't existed since 1707.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
sure that's the clever joke they were trying to make.
Yeah.
And not just that he's an idiot.
And
I do love that she does look like, because obviously she's in distress and being captured or whatever, about to be killed by like her friend that's turned psychopathic. But she still has that like fuck kind of look for a second.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know what he
Do you-
means, and he's clearly wrong.
To be fair, that the Queen gag would have been funny eventually.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
just
so
took
they really
time.
played the long con on that, hoping
Yeah.
that rewatches.
They did write that
It's
joke
12
knowing
years.
it would happen.
It does
but
do
yeah,
the. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say he ends up like, sort of starting to cut down Metro City Tower and like just completely destroying the place. And then Megamind shows up, and that's when he
Playing.
says the line, "Yeah, the difference between villains and supervillains is presentation," and just has like a shitload of the little like brain bots
No,
and stuff
really.
come out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
think
has
this
like a
film is a
light
bit
show.
like Starship Troopers in the way that it's kind of come back into the public consciousness through memes.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. No, Megamind is like the birth of so many images you see online.
Yeah, like
example,
the one
No bitches.
for a while that was the most popular Megamind meme was when Metro Man lands and the tassels blow out and someone's like dubbed a fart noise over the top of it. Like seeing it in the film without that sound was actually kind of jarring.
No bitches. Please tell me someone else
Yeah.
knows. I'll post it. I'll post it later.
Yeah, that's still like one of the first memes that comes up.
Yeah, so in the end, they're fighting, and then Metro Man comes back. But Metro Man calls it Metrocity, and it turns out that Minion was pretending to be Megamind, and Megamind was pretending to be Metro Man, but they end up defeating Titan anyway, and I can't quite remember how.
With the gun, they they use the gun
So
to
it doesn't
take
work
his,
straight
the
away because
DNA out of him.
I think it's psychologically they just like he leaves and he's like, oh fuck, Metro Man's back, I better skedaddle.
Yeah.
And then,
then-
but
oh,
he
yeah,
doesn't-
and
they
then
don't
he
leave
comes
it long
back.
enough because they're like, oh, it was and they're like, oh, it's you, Megamind, and they sort of hug, and then I was like, wait, what? You really thought I was gonna fall for that when you said Metrocity?
Yeah. I did like the bit where Megamind's like falling to his death, and he uses the dehydration gun to shoot himself with it, and then lands in a fountain, so he comes back.
Yeah, and that's how the film
yeah.
starts as well, isn't it? It's like it starts, oh, I'm falling through to my death.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the end. I better tell you how I got here, which is always a fun
Yeah.
way of setting up a film. Because I mean,
But-
it takes ages. I'd already forgotten by the time we got to that scene that that's where it started.
Yeah. But yeah, he kills him by the gun that gave him the DNA, takes the DNA away.
Yeah,
Oh,
he,
yeah,
he
they
just
take
he
the
just set
powers
it to
away.
suck.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I think that's essentially it.
And then Megamind becomes a hero and rebuilds the city, and everyone worships him as the hero. And I guess Metro Man gets to just keep doing his music.
Yeah, the good thing is that they don't drag Metro Man back.
Yeah, he just
Yeah,
goes on.
he's still, because he's sort of undercover at the bit at the end. He's just grown a beard
Yeah.
and has a hood up so that you can't tell it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the public's concerned, he's still dead. So I think the only people that know are like Megamind and Roxanne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one guy in the crowd that he bumped into.
Yeah.
no
No
one
one will believe him.
No one will.
Yeah, that'll be that world's kind of like Elvis isn't dead conspiracy for years, won't it?
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Megamind.
Forever.
Megamind never killed Metro Man. And here's 9 reasons why. My 12-hour YouTube video.
The
Buzz.
BuzzFeed article.
Buzz.
You know, actually, that's a good point. These people have like a real short memory span because, like, sure, he saved the city from Titan, but like he literally murdered the last hero, as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like he can undo that by going,
you-
"Hey, like Metro Man's actually alive." Like, as far as they're
When-
concerned, he's still dead.
When you live in a city constantly under threat by a terrorist attack from an individual, constantly being saved by a different individual, you take having a good individual on your side whenever you can get it, because you never know.
So this is just like the real politic of like civics in
Yeah.
a superhero world. It's like, you know what? If the supervillain changes his mind, we will take that.
But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? As people, what do you do? Do you go, I don't like him? Well, tough.
Well, it's like, you know, he's already proven pretty solidly that they can try and put him in prison.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't
hasn't
stick.
worked.
He's in
But
prison when he wants to be.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting though that like up until he, I would say, accidentally kills Metro Man or believes that he killed Metro Man, all of his nefarious schemes and like evil plots have been like property damage and things that don't actually hurt people. They've just been like very flashy and flamboyant and
Yeah, because he
he's been a
doesn't wanna
villain, but
be
he's
a
not
villain.
actually been like genuinely
Evil.
It's always been to
He
like steal stuff and
He doesn't
like
want
like
to
stage
be a villain.
evil.
yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be a villain. He wants to put on a show. He just wants to be camp.
He'd be an amazing wrestler.
Megamind would do drag. We went in two different directions. We went into two very different directions.
Oh
He'd
my
have to
god,
lean-
this
lean
entire
into the
film.
bald, though. He'd never get a wig to look good.
I was just
You could
thinking
get a
though, like, the
series
entire
of
relationship
wigs.
between Megamind and Metro Man, it's just kayfabe. Like the whole like theatre for wrestling.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
So
all
they-
sort of imagine. It's not real.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they know this isn't
like
serious.
they're pals outside of the fight, but then they're not. But
Yeah.
they could
But-
be, and it sort of shows that they do get on because obviously
Hmm.
Megamind could have just dropped thingy in it. He could have dropped Metro Man. There's too many M's in this film. I'm just going to say
There
that.
are way
Like,
too many.
it's not easy if you struggle with that kind of word. But yeah, he could have dropped Metro Man in it and said, "Oh, he is alive," and sort of tried to get the status quo back. But instead, he doesn't because he's good now because he's found love. As
Yeah.
cutesy and gross as it is, it's quite sweet, and you are kind of rooting for him at that point because it's like he's got something to fight for now.
Yeah, I do think
Yeah.
that was one of the weaker parts of the film, though, the whole romance plot, because like Roxanne doesn't, like as a character, isn't developed as much as she should have been.
Yeah,
Is still like relatively two-dimensional. Is really only there as a motivation for the main character rather than as a standalone character in her own right.
Well, she does active. She does have some active quality, like scenes where she's the instigator. So like when she decides to track down and break into Megamind's lair.
Mm.
And she's very funny when like Megamind's trying to make her scared and she's been kidnapped and
Yeah.
she's just like, "Yeah, I've been
Oh,
kidnapped.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
scheme's
Not
not going to
again."
work." And
Yeah, I love that dynamic. Like that scene
She's
as
like,
well.
"Can you at least look sad?"
Yeah, I think that really sold the idea that like the relationship between all three of them, like Megamind, Metro Man, and Roxanne, it's like a Saturday morning cartoon where they've been through
100%.
these motions so many times and like all of the tropes and like the narrative techniques for how that kind of conflict goes. That's the way they run their lives. Like that's what they live,
Well,
and
that's
they've
why-
seen it all by then.
That's why Titan was so scary, because Titan like wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Mm,
Like when
Yeah, no, he
Titan got
was-
mad,
He was
Yeah,
genuinely evil.
I
Megamind
think
was like, "Aha, we can have a good
the
joke
best
here."
scene for that is just before Megamind realizes that, oh shit, I'm actually in mortal danger, is
Yeah.
when they're fencing using the lampposts, or rather
Yeah.
Megamind is fencing. Titan is just furiously trying to stave his head in by like bludgeoning through it.
And like Titan really makes it clear that he intends to kill Roxanne as well. Like it's
Yeah.
subtle enough that it might not upset your kid and give them nightmares, but it's not that subtle.
Yeah, and like even during the training montage though, like when like Megamind is pretending to be like Magical Space Dad, and he's showing him how to like apprehend a mannequin of Megamind. He just fucking melts his head
Yeah,
with laser
crushes
vision.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not joking. He's not kidding, and it is quite funny watching Megamind go from "haha, we are good buddies," jostling. What do we do about? Because he says like, "What do we?" And now we do for some light ribbing of each other, throwing spats back and forth. And he tells a joke, and then Titan's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'll rip your head off."
Yeah.
Listen here, you little shit. You get back over. I'm gonna rip your fucking guts out through your ass. You get over here. And Megamind's like, "I don't know how to deal with that."
Yeah.
Not like that's how it is explicitly in the film as well. It's a
Mm.
really bizarre, dark moment.
Yeah, it
Did
takes
he?
a strange turn, but
You sit there going, "Did you say he's gonna rip his guts out through his ass?" Is that
Yeah.
something? That's weird.
The other thing that I thought was funny as well is like after Titan goes bad, and he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna make
Like
myself
milk.
happy. I'm gonna like steal stuff. I'm gonna be bad. Like he's still living in this tiny apartment.
Yeah,
He's just
he
stuffed
doesn't
it
steal
full
a
of stolen
fly,
stuff.
He stole like,
Massive
and he's
TV.
stolen like the most comical stuff like bars of gold, like an arcade machine, a bike.
That giant TV and like bags of cash with dollar signs on the side.
It's
And he's
because
just he doesn't turn up to Megamind's like appointment to fight him,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
he's
like-
just out there
Because
playing
he's-
video games.
Yeah, and like Megamind is in a giant mech suit in front of City Hall, just using actual cars like toy cars because he's bored.
Yeah,
It's because Titan is a villain
yeah.
and thus lacks the presentation. Like, he's
Yeah.
just a villain. He's not a super villain.
Yeah.
Megamind.
That's you
supervision,
can make people, you know,
They-
villains or heroes, but you can't make them super. That's something that comes from within.
Yeah.
So, out of 10, what do you think you guys would give Megamind? Because I really enjoyed it. Like, I would probably give this, to be honest, I'd give this an 8 out of 10 foreheads that Megamind has. Like, I really liked it. This, like, I know I enjoy, like, the sort of superhero stuff, but yeah, this just worked well for me. I had a great time watching it. I wasn't expecting it to as well. I'd seen it once but ages ago, and I was like, it'll probably be fine. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a good time. I'm gonna give this. I mean, I don't think it's a particularly good film, but I had a good time watching it, and I was so surprised that it wasn't shit after I saw that it was Will Ferrell in the main cut. Like, honestly, like, they kept him on a pretty tight leash with what he was saying, and he acted really well rather than being Will Ferrell. It wasn't Will Ferrell as Megamind. It felt like he was actually playing a character.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it. I think 6 Dead Queens of England out of 10. It was fine. I'm glad that I kind of finally saw it, if that makes sense. Like, it's nice to tick that one
Yeah.
off, but I'm not like desperate to watch it again anytime soon, and I don't think I can understand why like when we look at other films that came out that year, like, this was not a priority to see. It was like, that looks fun, but I'm going to go and watch literally any other film.
Yeah. I think like five somethings. 5 accidental murders of 5 superheroes pretending to be dead.
Oh, no, I can't use that one.
Yeah, I just found it really like flat and kind of boring, mostly. Bits of it were funny. It kind of took itself too seriously in some parts, but then didn't in others. I don't know. I just didn't get on with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
You didn't get on with it, but you're still giving it 5. That's pretty generous.
Because
Five's-
it's like
five's
it's a
not
good
bad.
film and it's funny,
Yeah.
but I just think I'm also very tired.
Oh, okay. How about you, Martin?
Yeah, no, I think 5. I've already said.
I might also be tired.
Yeah.
How about you, Jamie?
I honestly think that me and Mikey are probably like mirror images of one another from the robots film, because he scored quite low, and I'm going to
you're wrong
score
about
up at
robots.
like let's say a 7.
You're
So
wrong about
I do
robots.
really enjoy this film. I like the more character driven side of it, and I think the comedy is pretty good in terms of like the detailed kind of like gags and like the wittier parts. So I think it's got a bit more going for it in that sense. That said, if you are going for a character driven story, like it really does hang on the story, and I think the pacing is off in some places. Like, it drags a little bit too long in some places. Maybe the editing could have been a bit tighter. So yeah, I mean, I can see why this doesn't stand out and it didn't get its own franchise, but at the same time, I would also watch this like any day over any of the Despicable Me films. So
Oh yeah, 100%.
Fair enough.
This is not an endorsement of Despicable Me.
One line that really caught me off guard that really cracked me up was when he I think it was it Titan that he was threatening Roxy. She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna," like, she was like, looks like she was gonna fight back, and she was like, "What are you gonna do? Report me to death?" And I was like, "Ooh, burn."
Yeah, well, I guess with that, I have been Dan.
I have been Michael.
I've been Helena.
and I'm Jamie.
You can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We're on Discord as well, so you can come in and tell us your thoughts about Megamind. And we also have a Patreon, so you can support the show. And what are we going to do for the Patreon?
Raise an
It's
alien
not-
baby. We're gonna raise an
We're gonna
alien baby in a prison.
Yes, we're gonna. Okay,
Cool.
so Gonna raise an alien baby in a prison, which involves number one, getting hold of an alien baby.
Fine.
Big first challenge. Then we're gonna find an incel. We're gonna give him superpowers.
Oh no, I don't like where this is going.
That's where it's going. It's gonna end there. We're just gonna see what the alien does to the incel given superpowers.
Yeah.
The prison alien.
Prison alien. Blue prison alien.
I can't promise you blue.
Yeah, to be fair, I think we will take any alien.
Apart from the ones with acid blood.
Yeah, not the alien. It's got too much bad press. Megamind. Megamind.
Every single time it's quiet,
Megamind.
like the first thing that comes into my head now is "Send Me on My Way" by Rusted Root. I'm like, that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
been in 2.
Been in loads of them.